Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty intense. It's a source that calls itself a practical manual, not a treatise upon theories.
That's right. It's called The Science of Getting Rich, and it makes this, well, just huge claim.
Huge is right. It basically says that getting rich isn't luck or talent, but an exact science, like algebra or arithmetic.
Exactly, governed by specific laws. And if you obey them, the book guarantees wealth with, and I quote, mathematical certainty.
Wow. Okay, so who is this for then?
It's aimed right at you, the listener, if you're someone who wants results, like now. And you've got to be willing to take its core ideas on faith.
Faith. So you don't question it.
Not initially. The idea is you accept the fundamental statements, act on them, and that's how you prove they're true, through your own results.
Okay, that's a big ask. So our mission today is to really unpack this science, the philosophy behind it, the laws, the actions required. It sounds like it demands total commitment.
Absolutely. So where do we start? It actually begins with a pretty radical take on the whole idea of money and morality.
Morality. How so?
Well, it basically throws out the common idea that there's something noble about poverty. The book is blunt. You cannot live a truly complete or successful life unless you are rich.
Whoa, hang on. So being content with just a little, that's bad. How does it justify that?
It ties wealth directly to, like, the fundamental purpose of being human, which it says is development.
Development.
Yeah, unfolding your soul, developing all your talents, your potential. And to do that, you need resources. You need things to use, experiences, and those things require money in our world.
Right. So wanting to be rich isn't about greed. It's actually about wanting to be, well, more fully human.
Precisely. The desire for riches is framed as a desire for a richer, fuller, more abundant life. And the book says that desire is praiseworthy.
Praiseworthy. Okay.
And it breaks life down, into three motives: living for the body, the mind, and the soul.
Body, mind, soul. Makes sense.
And it says none is better or holier than the others. They all need full expression. And guess what they all need?
Let me guess. Money.
You got it. The body needs good food, rest, recreation. The mind needs books, travel, art. The soul needs love, which often expresses itself through giving, which also takes resources.
So the conclusion is, kind of startling, the best thing you can do for humanity is get rich yourself.
That's exactly it. To make the most of yourself. It completely flips the script on self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
You serve others best by becoming all you can be, and that requires wealth.
Okay, that's a powerful idea. A duty, almost. But if it's a science, it can't just be about wanting it or feeling good about wanting it. Where does the actual stuff, the wealth, come from if it's not about competing, like you said?
Right, and that brings us to the core engine of this whole system. The book insists getting rich isn't mainly about your environment.
Because rich and poor people live in the same places.
Exactly. Or just talent. Lots of talented people are poor. Or even just saving money. It says it's about doing things in a certain way.
Okay, the certain way. And that way connects to the source of everything.
Yeah, this is where it gets pretty metaphysical. It introduces this idea of a single underlying substance. The monistic theory, basically. One is all and all is one.
Right, I've heard of that. So everything comes from one thing.
One original substance. The book calls it formless stuff, but it's not dead matter. It's described as intelligent. It thinks.
Okay, wait. Formless thinking stuff. That's a lot to take in. It's everywhere.
Everywhere, constantly creating, alive with creative energy.
Right.
And crucially for this science, it's limitless.
Limitless supply. That's key, isn't it? If you're trying to get away from the idea that someone has to lose for you to win.
Absolutely. The book hammers this point. There is no shortage of riches. The invisible supply is truly inexhaustible because this formless stuff is always making more.
Okay, infinite supply, intelligent substance. So how do we, as thinking humans, tap into this ocean of potential?
That's the first principle. Thought. Thought is the only power that can take this formless stuff and turn it into tangible things, into riches. The idea is when this substance thinks of a form, it makes that form. The universe itself is like a thought world.
And our role in that.
We are thinking centers. We can have original thoughts. And by impressing our specific thought, our mental image, onto this formless substance,
We can cause the thing we're thinking about to be created.
that's the core mechanism, yes.
Which brings us back to those three statements you mentioned, the ones we have to accept on faith. One, there's this thinking stuff. Two, a thought in it makes the thing. Three, we can make things by impressing our thoughts on it.
Exactly. And the book warns that learning to think in this certain way is actually the hardest part.
Harder than the action. Why is just thinking so tough?
Because you have to learn to think truth, regardless of appearances. Meaning you might see debt, limitations, lack all around you. That's appearance. But you have to hold the thought of abundance, of the infinite supply of your desired outcome as if it's already real. That takes serious mental muscle.
Yeah, I can imagine. If bills are piling up, holding a thought of wealth feels counterintuitive, maybe even delusional.
It requires discipline.
Right.
And the book says if doubt creeps in, you have to cast it aside as a sin.
As a sin. That's strong. So how do you manage that? The anxiety, the doubt.
The main tool prescribed is gratitude. Constant, conscious gratitude.
Gratitude. Okay, how does that work here?
It's not just being thankful after you get something. It's a way to align yourself right now with the formless substance. Being grateful affirms that good things are already flowing, that the supply is there. It keeps your mind tuned to the creative, abundant frequency.
Ah, I see. So gratitude reinforces the belief in abundance.
Exactly. And it prevents you from falling into what the book calls competitive thought, the mindset of limitation, scarcity, fear that there isn't enough.
Which, according to the theory, would cut you off from the source.
Right. Doubt and worry are seen as destructive. They create a negative impression on the substance, counteracting the positive image you're trying to hold.
So you cultivate gratitude, fight off doubt, and hold this mental picture.
Yes, a clear and definite mental picture of what you want. Not just vague, I want to be rich. You need to see the specific house, the car, the experiences, the feeling of it.
See it like it's already here.
As if they were actually around you all the time. That's the instruction. This mental ownership held with unwavering purpose and faith is critical. Any wavering, any time spent on worry...
It sends the wrong signal, basically.
Yeah.
Sabotages the process.
Precisely. It can bring your hopes to shipwreck, as the book puts it.
Okay, so the mental side is huge, demanding. But you said earlier, it's not just thinking. The book's practical, right? Gold doesn't just appear.
Correct. This is where action comes in, and it's just as specific. You can't just sit and visualize. Personal action has to connect the thought to the reality.
So how do you act? What are the rules?
First rule is about your willpower. You use your will, but only on yourself.
Only on yourself. Meaning?
Meaning, you use your will to make yourself think the right thoughts, hold the vision, maintain faith, and take the right actions. You don't use your will to try and coerce other people or manipulate external events.
Ah, okay. So no trying to mentally compel a client to sign a deal or force things to happen?
No. The book calls that kind of mental coercion wrong, basically a form of robbery. Your will is for self-mastery, not controlling others.
Got it. So you master your thoughts. Then what kind of action do you take?
You have to act now, right where you are, using the people and things in your current environment.
So you don't wait until you move or get a different job or conditions are perfect.
Absolutely not. You act now with what you have, where you are. That action, done in a certain way, is what will lead to a change of environment or circumstance if needed.
Okay, act now. But how should you act?
Efficiently. Success, it says, comes from having successful days. And a successful day is one where you do everything that can be done that day.
Everything. That sounds exhausting, like burnout territory.
But without haste or overwork. That's key. It's not about frantic activity. It's about the efficiency of each individual action.
Efficiency. How do you make an action efficient in this context?
You pour your whole power, your faith, your purpose, that mental image into each separate act while you are doing it, even small tasks.
Can you give an example? Like sending an email.
Okay. An inefficient way is typing it quickly while thinking about lunch, worrying about the reply, half distracted. An efficient way, according to the science, is focusing fully on that email, holding your vision of success and abundance in mind as you write it, infusing the act with purpose. You're connecting the mental creation to the physical action.
So every single action matters. No multitasking, no going through the motions.
Every inefficient act is a failure, the book states. Every efficient act is a success and brings you closer to your goal.
Wow. Okay, and this ties into the non-competitive idea too, right? How does that work in business? You still need to make money.
Yes, but the rule is you must give every person more in use value than you take from them in cash value.
More use value than cash value. What does that mean practically?
It means whatever you sell, provide, or do for someone, it has to genuinely improve their life, advance them in some way, more than the money they give you is worth to them. Your transaction has to be a net positive for them.
So no zero-sum games. if your business relies on tricking people or giving them less than fair value.
The book says you must get out of that business at once. You have to be a creator adding to life, not a competitor just shuffling existing wealth around. The goal is that when you get rich, everyone you interact with is also better off.
That makes sense psychologically, too. People are drawn to those who seem to be growing, advancing.
Exactly. The book calls it conveying the impression of increase. Everyone is seeking more life, more advancement. If people sense that interacting with you helps them increase, they'll be drawn to you.
So you become a source of growth for others, just by holding your own vision and acting efficiently.
That's the idea. Your inner state of advancing confidence radiates outward.
Okay, let's touch on some of the maybe more challenging advice towards the end, like the instruction about ignoring poverty.
Yeah, this is where it can feel quite counterintuitive, especially for people focused on social issues. The book says you must use your willpower to keep your mind off poverty.
Why? Isn't that burying your head in the sand?
The reasoning goes back to the creative thought process. Dwelling on poverty, misery, lack even someone else's, impresses that image on the formless substance and reinforces it in your own mind. You can't help the poor, it argues, by thinking poor thoughts.
So how do you help, according to this?
By becoming rich yourself using this science, you demonstrate the cure. Poverty is eliminated, the book claims, not by charity focused on symptoms, but by increasing the number of people who practice the science of getting rich and thus create wealth.
So charity is discouraged.
Conventional charity that just manages poverty, yes. It's seen as potentially perpetuating the problem by not addressing the root cause, which it defines as thinking in the wrong way. The focus must remain on increase and demonstrating the path to wealth. You must see the poor as potentially becoming rich. And this ties into the final advice, which is really about focus.
Right, the warning against mixing system.
Yes. The book claims it contains the entire science. It strongly warns against reading other similar books or getting into theosophy, spiritualism, or kindred studies.
Why the exclusivity?
Because mixing different ideas or methods will inevitably lead to doubt and uncertainty. And as we've established, doubt is fatal to this process. It demands absolute focus and commitment to this specific method.
Undiluted focus. Okay, so if we boil it all down for you, the listener, what's the core cycle?
It's pretty clear. First, accept the reality of this intelligent, formless substance. Second, form a very clear, detailed mental image of what you want, holding it with unwavering purpose and faith.
And gratitude.
And gratitude, absolutely. Third, act now where you are with what you have. Make every single action efficient by pouring your full mental power into it. And always, always convey that impression of increase to others.
It's a demanding system. But what really strikes me looking back is that ethical flip. The claim that, quote, you can serve God and man in no more effective way than by getting rich.
It really turns conventional ideas of altruism and sacrifice upside down, doesn't it?
It does. So the question for you to think about is, what happens to your perspective if you start considering wealth creation not as selfish, but as your highest duty, your primary way to contribute? How might that change the way you approach your work, your goals, your everyday actions?
A lot to mull over there.
Definitely. Something to consider until our next deep dive.